Hello folks, thanks for joining for another episode of Sam's Device Advice. Today we're going to be talking about Google Keep, pretty much the only reason I am able to be a functioning adult. Here I am once again with my terrible green screen and my low quality camera, so lucky for you we're going to go right into my desktop. Now, Google Keep is one of my favorite apps that I use across all platforms. So I use it on tablets, desktop, on my phone mainly actually. And it's a great tool to provide for students, especially those who might have some memory issues, but it's also just a great tool to have for day-to-day usage. So let's jump in, take a look at it on the desktop, and then I prepared a few videos just to show you what it looks like on my phone as well. Now I'm using an Android phone, but it looks very similar on Apple. So as always, what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we're logged into our Chrome browser. You can see my name here, and I don't see any blue sign in button, so that's a good sign. I'm going to go ahead to my waffle and I'm going to find Google Keep. And since this is the first time that I've visited Google Keep on this account, I'm going to go to my lock. I'm going to click and drag the lock onto my bookmarks bar to make a new bookmark. And because I like keeping them organized, I'm going to right click on my bookmark. I'm going to go to edit. I'm going to erase the name and I'm going to click save. And I don't like it that it's all the way down here, so I'm actually going to drag him over right beside my Google Calendar. Now, Google Calendar and Keep actually play very well together, and I'll show you an example of that very quickly. Now, this is what Google Keep looks like on a desktop. So in any browser, this is what it'll look like. So at the top, you just have your note, take a note spot. So this is where you would start typing if you wanted to use this for class notes or general ideas. This button over here on the right is to create a checklist. You do have a drawing feature that you can add for notes, and then here you can upload images and add them to your notes. So let's go ahead and just make a quick note about the rain in Spain and how it's always falling on the plains. Sorry, not always, mainly. It falls mainly on, I'm completely losing my mind as I'm typing that. So I can hit close, and now I have a note that is here which just says my title. Now, what I could do is if I go back into that note, I could add Spain's weather patterns. And now I have a slightly more organized note here. Now, you see I have this pin option that comes up. I see it also when I've opened up my note. If I pin my note, it'll jump right to the top, so it's an easily accessible one. So as you see, I have an example of a homework list you could make that's pinned up here. And just some basic sample ones as well. Now you see these ones are color coded, so on your note itself you'll see this palette and you can change the colors themselves. Just really nice for those who are a little more visual among us. The other options you see underneath here, let's go into the full note so you can see them a little better. The bottom left one is Remind Me. So if I click on Remind Me, it gives me automatically some times that I could choose to set for reminders. So it gives me pre-made times, and then I can also pick a date and a time that I want to. Now, the really nice thing about this is, like I said, once you make these times, or once you set these reminders, these get added to your Google Calendar. So if I click Save, and if I go up here, I'm going to right-click on my bookmark for Calendar and open it in a new tab. And now you're going to be able to see that the notation that I have and the reminder that I gave myself is now showing up on that day and time. So let's say I'm on my phone and I have this account ready to go, then I'm going to see this pop up in front of me at 8:30 tomorrow to remind me to do this task. The other option that's in the reminders is one that's a little creepier, but I've kind of leaned into it, is pick a place. So if you turn on location services on your devices, and then you can then tell Google where you're going to be when you want this notification. So I could type in the name, like my address, I could type it in at somebody else's or even a restaurant, so that when I get there, my phone will give you a notification to do that task. Very great for students, also great for sloppy husbands who need to remember to do the dishes. Other options we have down here is to add a collaborator. So if I want to share this list with somebody else so that they can add to it, subtract to it, and kind of monitor it, you could click add a collaborator, and then just like in any other sharing in Google, you type in their email address. Now this has also been used a few times in classes. I've seen some teachers have their students make homework lists instead of doing it on a day planner, and then they share their homework list with the teacher. So the teacher only needs to pull up their own Google Keep and then they're going to see all of their students' checklists as they go through. So if I had some other ones that were shared, you would see them here. You can add pictures and images to your notes if you want to, and that's actually more useful in the app, which I'll show you in a moment, on your phone. And then under more, you just have some options where you can add a drawing. You can copy this. You can turn on checkboxes if you didn't automatically make it as a checklist, and you can turn those off as well. And a new feature they've added last couple months is copy to Google Docs. And what's kind of nice about this is that, let's say you've been planning things in a Google Keep and you realize it's going to be a little bit more thorough. If I click this guy, it's going to create a Google Doc that is associated with this note. It's going to grab the text that I have in here, and then it's going to make it a full Google Doc for me. So now I have that simple note added into a full doc. But what's also kind of cool is that once this loads in, pardon me reading right, once this loads in, you might have noticed this toolbar of your calendar, keep, and tasks when you're in a Google app. If I click on keep, it's going to bring up my Google Keep now for me. So all in one window. And you can see that this one is associated with this article. So it's a really nice kind of synergy between those two. And I can't believe I just used the word synergy. I spent way too much time in retail. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up some videos that I made from my phone to show you what this looks like on the app as well. So the first thing I'll show you is just the actual use of it. So what you see me here doing is opening up Google Keep on my phone. Now I clicked on the bottom. Once this goes away here, let me get this out of the way. So you can see at the bottom where it says take a note. So I tapped on take a note, and it's going to open up a notepad for me. And what this will then do is give me this full access. Now you can see it, I'm using a swipe keyboard at the bottom. I find it a lot easier to do one-handed. To get back into a note, you just tap on it. Now I'm adding a title to it, so you can see the difference between a note with and without a title. And you can do a lot of the same things that you're doing on the desktop version. So now I pinned it, so I clicked on the pin at the very top, and now it becomes a pinned item up there. If I open it up and I tap on the bottom left corner to the plus, you can see you can add a photo, you can add those check marks, and now this is me typing in a little bit more with the checklist. And what else you can do in here in this app is, well, let me go through another checklist here. This was me making it with just the checklist itself, pressing the checklist bottom. So yeah, pretty much the same. You can then go in, you can change the colors, you can click on the notification button and add those notifications. But the really powerful thing that I find using Google Keep with is doing it with OCR. So OCR stands for Optical Character Recognition. So if you've ever used Kurzweil or even scanned in something on your desktop scanner, you can scan it in with OCR, which will recognize the text on the screen. So what Google Keep lets you do is do this remotely, so using your phone for this. So what you're going to watch me do is I'm going to click on the camera button on the bottom with a picture. I'm going to hit take a photo. And I'm going to take a picture of Ellen's hilarious book. Now, what Google Keep's going to do is it's going to try to find text in this picture. And if I select the picture by tapping on it, and then I'm going to tap on the 3 dots on the top right for more options, you can see it doesn't say the option I'm looking for yet. It only said send and delete. The option that I'm looking for is grab image text. So what this is doing is it's sending it to Google servers, and then it'll bring it back. Once it pings back from the servers, you're going to see that I'll click on that button again. Now it says grab image text. By tapping on that, it's now grabbed the text and made it writable, editable text below. So now you can see Ellen's title was grabbed and put into here. You can also notice, though, it wasn't able to recognize this font. Whether it was blended in a little too much with her head, I'm not quite sure, but it only grabbed the font at the bottom. This does work a lot better with printed text just on a page. I've done this with textbooks or with handouts, and it works pretty well. And then if you have an iPhone, you can actually press and hold on the text, and you can then select it and have it read back to you. So I'm going to do that here where I tap on the note. I'm going to press and hold on the text. I'll select it all. And at this point, if you were using an iPhone, you could see the option that says speak in those options here, and it would read it back to you. So this is a situation that I provide to students that, let's say you're in a restaurant, you have trouble reading and you're not sure if this burger has an ingredient that you're allergic to. You could take a picture of it, have Google do the OCR scan, grab that image text, and then copy it down below, pop in a headphone, have Google or Apple read it back to you, and you now know what's on your burger. So it's a very small thing that's kind of hidden inside of Google's app here, but it's really, really impressive. Finally, the only other things to really get into with this is, like I said, you can do those drawing notes, and they work a little bit better on a phone. It's kind of hard to draw with your mouse, but you can certainly do that here by clicking on the paintbrush, and then you can draw and sketch, do whatever you need to do. And then the last thing you'll notice is I have these labels on the side. Now, depending on how organized you are, you can set up your labels for this. So I've seen students use their labels for each class. So you can create a label for, let's say, science. And then every note that I write that's going to be about science, I would click on my More options. I would click Add Label. And then I can choose if it's part of more or less of each of my notes. So now, if I go to click on science, it's only going to show me the notes that I've labeled for that. Keeps it a little bit more organized. If you're a little messier like I am, you can always use this search up at the top. So if I just type in science, it's going to show me my notes that have science in it. So that's pretty much it. So today we looked at Google Keep. We looked at how to get to it, what it looks like on a phone. The app is free, and it just syncs with your Google account. So yeah, if you have any questions about it, feel free to let me know. But as always, send me an email, sam@samgoving.com. And thank you very much for watching. Cheers.